This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you in partnership with ministryleague.com. We would love for more people to discover this show, so please rate and review us on iTunes or your podcast provider. Feel free to share on your social media and subscribe at benandtravis.com for the free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis. We join you today. Unfortunately, Will Mahan is not with us. He's out there at a youth group retreat, so everybody should be praying for him. By this time, he's back home, so you may be just wanting to pray for him to regroup after a long weekend, but he'll rejoin us at a future date. But we'll be without Will today. But Ben Hayes is with us. And my faithful, wonderful companion, Whitney Creasy, has rejoined the podcast with us as well. Ben, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I am feeling good today and just excited as usual to be on with you guys and to have a special guest with us today. We have Addie Williams with us, and she is a native of our area, from the same area that Travis and I are from. She did, I think, camp with us, and Mars Hill, I believe, Mars Hill graduate, if I'm not mistaken on that. And so she's somebody that we're friends with on Facebook and Instagram, and I've kind of been following her story a little bit. You know, I've seen some couples. I've seen some couples like both of you guys that are both bought in and intense. Okay. I've also seen some couples in the past where one is bought in and intense and the other one is just bitter and angry the entire time. And so speak to that, any of you, speak to that for just a moment, because, you know, I think that it's important for you guys, you know, for couples to work that out. If, you know, if you can't be 100%, I get it. But you kind of got to be on the same page one way or another. So how do you guys do that? How have you guys learned to maneuver it?
Oh, I think I think if you get somebody that's 100% and then somebody who's really mad and bitter about it, that it's going to be really, really difficult to make a lot of traction. But it's funny hearing you, Addie, talk about doing this now, because we did this, like, what years was that? Like 2009, 10, 11, I think, was when we were working on it. So it's been like a decade ago. And there, like, no, I know nowadays he has like an online budgeting system, and that wasn't a thing then. Like, I had physical envelopes with cash in them. I was like, this is the grocery envelope, and when there's no more cash in it, so the technology part, we didn't have the technology part of it. And so many times I would think, man, I so wish that there was a way that, like, Travis could see this at the same time that I'm seeing it, because, like, again, like, I would have the envelopes in my wallet and I would know, like, okay, so for the groceries, this is what we have left to get through the rest of the month. And I know what we have in the kitchen. And I know that we need to buy more laundry detergent. We're almost out. And this is what we have left in the household budget. And we don't have it for this or whatever. I think you really have to come to some sort of compromise on exactly how intense you want to be and what you're willing to sacrifice, because that determines your level of intensity, is what you're willing to sacrifice. And like Addie was saying, they're driving one car. You have to agree on that. We did the same thing. There were 2 different times where we drove one car and shared a vehicle, because we just weren't willing to finance anything, and we were going to pay cash for our vehicles. And so you definitely have to agree on that. We didn't have Wi-Fi. We didn't have cable. We didn't have, like he was talking about.
It was like we were on the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
They might as well have been in Alaska.
I picked out a couple of stores and I just learned their coupon policies like the back of my hand. And if it wasn't on sale and I didn't have a coupon, we didn't need it. And like you have to agree on those things.
And you would stock up. You would buy whatever was on sale in large quantities.
And I mean, even like we would freeze to death in the winter because I just wouldn't turn the heat up any higher than 64 degrees because that costs money. And you have to like agree on your level of intensity, I think is what I'm saying. If you're just like, if you have something that you just can't do without, you've all got to you got to come together and decide what you just have to spend your money on and what you can't do without and what you can do without. And that's, I think, where your communication and compromise has to take place.
Yes. I think I would have heard more people, not that the other spouse was bitter, but just passive, just didn't care and just wanted to be told what to do. But I guess that might be better than a bitter spouse on it. But
yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so like Tyler, he's already like the saver and he's frugal. He doesn't care to buy a bunch of anything. He doesn't care to get out. He's a very homebody. He loves quarantine. Like quarantine was what dreams are made of for Tyler. And so for me, I'm the nerd who is doing all the budgeting, and I'm also the one that wants to go spend money. So it's been like an internal conflict. But there have definitely been things that Tyler is cool with being frugal about and like, no, we're not going to go spend money. For example, we bought a super cheap vacuum cleaner. Like I'm pretty sure a kid's vacuum cleaner would do better than what ours did. And our family was coming to visit and I was like, this vacuum is not going to pick up like anything and it's going to be disgusting. And I was just like, let's just go buy a vacuum, like an actual one. And we ended up, this is so embarrassing. We ended up asking the clinic that we worked for if we could borrow their vacuum for the afternoon and take it. So I took the vacuum home, went and vacuumed our house and brought it back. And I was like, I promise if anything happens to it, I'll pay or do whatever. I'm just going to borrow your vacuum. And that was Tyler's idea. And I was against it for like a week. And then I was like, you know what, forget it. Let's just go borrow this vacuum. So we've gotten a lot better at like me being emotionally okay with just asking for help.
You can get really creative at problem solving when you're making yourself stick to a budget. And that's another thing you were talking about. You think it brought you two closer together. Like, well, I mean, what do we do when we want a team or a class of people to get closer together? We take them to do a ropes course or something challenging, to bring them closer together. And so you give yourselves a challenge as a married couple like that. It is going to bring you closer together when you work to problem solve and attain a goal that.
Well, how many times do you see coaches that, and speaking to the ropes course, but even like, Nick Saban and whoever else, coaching these teams that say, we've been through adversity now and going through that adversity, we've figured out what we can do. And so I think that's a huge thing, but I'm totally with you guys in that it has to be something. And so if people out there listening, some people may be going, hey, we can't do this level of what you guys are doing. But I think the important part is find a level that you can do.
Right.
And you do that, you agree on it. And I think the key is just have a budget, know what you can spend on what. And we've done that well at times in my household, and we've done it really poorly in my household. But, finding that, whatever that is, and trying to stick to it and get those things paid off what you can.
Same thing for here. I think the big thing is starting. And even if you wane from time to time, getting back on it. And for me, it was always the carrot hanging and dangling out. You've seen the little horse or the donkey and the riding it. He's got the carrot out there. For me, it was always the carrot of getting to the point where you can do what you want to do when you want to do it, or at least you can save to do it, and I'm a event activity, Maywood's coming up, CYC's going up. So to be able to kind of do and travel or, go to the Alabama game or get an autograph or something like that, for me, it was always kind of Whitney knew how to get the donkey to move, and, put that carrot out there and dangle it. So, I mean, it's kind of like you said, I mean, that was interesting that you mentioned that you're the one who wants to do all the activities, but also you're kind of the driving force of getting
That's huge.
out of debt. So I can't even imagine trying to balance that. That's pretty impressive.
There are some things that we like, so out to eat, we still budget for out to eat, even though you're supposed to stay at home. I just decided I took the out to eat budget thing and I multiplied it by 12. And I was like, if we did not go out to eat, it's not going to move our debt payoff a month. I was like, I can sacrifice a month more of paying off debt if we just go out to eat. So like we have $75 in our out to eat budget. Spent that in the first week of January, but besides the point. But so that's like one of those things. And Oreos, like we have Oreos in our house at all times. So there have been a few things where it's like, we just don't sacrifice that, but it's a group effort of like deciding what that is. So
could you write a budget for a 7-person household and just send it to me? Because that's what I need right now.
I really would love to do a budget. I don't know what it is like to feed kids. We're about to find out, but I would really like to do some kind of food, because food is the biggest thing that people struggle with, I feel like, in budgeting for and blowing their budget on. And so I would like to do some kind of grocery recipe, like click here for all the ingredients you need. This is how much each ingredients cost. I love to divide all that out. Like this past week, I got a sack of potatoes and we've eaten so many potatoes this week, but that sack was $5 and it's been like 12 meals. So
yeah. And I one of the things that I learned actually, that people will say that it's just too expensive to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that is necessarily true, because your prepackaged foods and everything it is more expensive than buying a sack of potatoes,
yeah,
like you're saying. And, that's an argument that I hear a lot of times when people are concerned about, cutting their budget is, oh, we can't eat healthy
right.
if I do
Right.
that. And, it's just not necessarily true. And there's easy ways. And I agree with you 100% that the food budget in definitely a family household is what shoots.
That's what kills us.
Kills it. And a lot of it is
kills us.
busyness too. You're just busy.
You don't have time.
You don't have time.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw. I mean, when we added 2 kids overnight to our family, I had no idea, because I was used to being able to, get up in the morning and make my breakfast and pack my lunch and come home in the evening and spend an hour making supper. That does not exist
Right.
with
Kids.
kids in the house. Definitely not with 5 like Ben's got. And so what the system that I've currently gone to is like, we like eat out of the freezer every weeknight. Like we eat out of the freezer every weeknight, and I just like 4 times a year make like 50 freezer meals and stack them in the freezer. And I make a list of what we're going to eat that week. I know what I need to pull out of the freezer the day before to let thaw, and then dump it in the crock pot or whatever the deal is. And I just go by the fresh fruits and vegetables. And you can also do that, if you're debt free, you can spend the money on the groceries that you need to make 50 freezer meals at one time, and that saves us. It's a lot. It's a chunk right there when I do it, but it saves us so much money because we're not, it's not 6 o'clock, everybody's starving and we don't have time to cook dinner and we all have to go sit down at the Mexican restaurant and spend $50.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. A meal, and you said your budget was $75. That's a meal and a half out to eat with our family.
And that's like
it's gone quick.
restaurant,
But Kenya even
Not even a sit down.
Yeah. Ke- yeah, exactly. And Kenya even said this week, she said, I need to call Whitney and get her freezer meal stuff. So Whitney, I know you've got, and we've shared some of that on our podcast and our
Are you
website.
ready?
And Travis can tell you, here it is.
benandtravis.com/meal
There you go.
plan. You can get Whitney's 5-day meal plan and grocery list right
That's
there.
right.
But yeah, Whitney comes home fall break. Fall break is all meal plans. Fall break meal plans.
And it's a sacrifice because I don't
freezer
get
meal.
I don't get a break because we do work in a school, but I do, I come home and I plan it, I buy it, I cook it, I freeze it.
While Travis records the podcast.
But I have more time with my kids in the evenings when I get home, when we get home from
Right.
work, and we're not so rushed and we don't spend so much money going out to eat when everything's hectic. And
So Addie, how does your faith play into all of this? Like, how has it affected your faith? What's been the correlation there between, what you've gone through both in Alaska and the financial journey and your faith?
In Alaska has just helped us so much. There have been times where we couldn't get our car to crank and someone's like, yeah, I got an extra car, and just brought it and left it in our driveway and gave us the keys. Like, you can just bring it back whenever you're done. It's no big deal. And just every time something hiccups, we just have a conversation. Like, we've made it this far. And he's not gonna let us down now, or he's not going to forget about us now. And so it's just like the main thing that's been going in my head. And with all of our challenges with Tyler didn't get into grad school the first year he applied, and we didn't know what we were going to do. He was working 3 jobs.
It's been really cool for us to be debt free, to be able to help other people, to be able to donate to different causes and things that are near and dear to our heart. And, not only be able to pay for cars ourselves with cash and do those things, but to be able to help out, different causes. And, when somebody needs something at church or something, then it's kind of that legacy changer. And you described a similar situation because Whitney didn't have any school debt and she took on mine. We got married. And so she's had several things that would make a lot of people run away. First, my school debt, and then my leukemia, and she's still here. So that means she's pretty awesome, or stubborn, one or the other. But I'll take it. I'll benefit from either one.
So I'm wondering on all this, what would you tell people who are going through financial struggles and they're considering going this direction?
My first thing is I usually ask them, why do you want this? Just to be sure that they know, they have a goal. And a lot of them are going to say if they have kids, they want to be able to start funding their kids' colleges. To talk to your husband and y'all just dream. Usually I'm talking to the ladies, to the girl of the household. And I have multiple people message me every week about this kind of stuff. And I'm always like, just sit your husband down, go to Waffle House, go eat a bucket of ice cream together, but talk about what you want to do as a couple in the next 5 years. And if your dreams aren't lining up with your current financial situation, let that fuel you to look and see how you can make a change. And then also just see, being upfront and being open and how soon you can get that paid off. And just to see a visual of, are we in a position to where we can meet those goals in the next 5 years? Or are we going to have to get our act together when it comes to maybe jobs? Maybe you aren't making enough money to be able to afford to pay off your debt in the next 5 years. You may need to get a second income, or you may need to cut back on this area. What do you need to do in order to make that attainable? Do you need to cut back on your groceries, or do you need to get a second income, or things like that? So I have multiple people message me every week about finances, how to get started, what should I do? And the easiest thing is just make sure that you all know why you want to do this, and then if y'all like reading the book Total Money Maker is one of the big things that I always tell people, just because he's just gonna blanket it all out for you. These are other people's situations. These are the baby steps. This is why you're gonna do it. And just making sure that we talked about that earlier, having a why is important, because if you want to do it because you want to go vacation more, but your husband wants to do it because he wants a truck, it's not gonna we're not working together. No one's gonna be very motivated because we're working for two different things. So our big thing, we were like, okay, when we get debt free, we're gonna go on a big, nice vacation. Well, we're pregnant and due in May and we have one car. I was like, okay, big, nice vacation on hold. A semi-nice car, that'll work. Okay, so right now that's what we've been pushing for, is get this paid off so that we can save to buy a car that doesn't break down every month. So you kind of change your why throughout the process, but as long as you're on the same page together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's awesome. And like, as far as being able to follow, I know like on you've encouraged me. It's kind of like Dave Ramsey. When you're when you're kind of feeling the mood, you'll stop and listen to him. But if you feel like you're going to have a whole lot of guilt, then you don't. And so sometimes scrolling through Instagram, I'm like, man, I'm super encouraged by Addie. Look at what she's doing. And then sometimes I'm like, go fast, go fast, go fast. You know, like I can't look at it right now. I'm sitting down at a restaurant, you know. So where can people like find, is there a place that people can go and find you to kind of be encouraged if they're doing this? Do you want people to find you? I don't know.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is at addie.in.alaska. I talk about financial stuff on there the most. Facebook, I have a Facebook page that I sometimes post up on. I need to do better about that, being consistent. Facebook world just kind of creeps me out sometimes. I'm like, it's like all my parents' friends on Facebook and then all my friends on Instagram. And I don't know, something about my parents' friends, I just don't want them all talking. I'm just kidding. But my Facebook page is thatteacherwife.com, or it's my blog. So the page is thatteacherwife. And I have some stuff on there. But Instagram, yeah, you can slide into my DMs and ask me how to get started, I guess. But not a financial advisor, though that seems like something that I'd probably be interested in attaining, looking into. It's in the education world. I don't currently teach in a school setting, but I do love helping other people and educating other people on things that I feel confident in. So, well, I have a YouTube channel for people that are like, ooh, big move to Alaska. I've had several people follow me on there. Probably not a very big field of people listening to this podcast, but you can see kind of the process that we went through of downsizing from our rental to our 3 suitcases and moving in to our apartment up here in Alaska. And it's Addie in Alaska on YouTube as well. And so not high tech at the slightest. However, it's kind of fun to go back and watch and see that, like, the silly things, like we slept on an air mattress for a month because we didn't want to go buy a mattress yet, and just the moose sightings and getting stuck in Denali, just fun stuff like that. So
I mentioned making the trek to see Dave, and we went up there in our little hybrid, gas saving car, and we get in to leave and come back home, and it starts smoking on the way home. So we pull it in our driveway, and we had gotten another vehicle by this point. And so we just parked it. We just didn't touch it. And we're sitting there, and I get one of these deals, and we're looking for this particular car, and you have one. Bring it down, and we'll give you so much money for it. And I was like, well, if it cranks, we'll drive it down. Well, it cranks right up. We drive it down to the parking lot. They're like, well, we're going to take it for a test drive, and we'll see what we're willing to give you. And I'm like, well, here's where this plan falls apart, because it won't crank again. They crank it, drive it around, come back and go, okay, here's the deal we can give you, and Whitney's the bulldog. And Whitney's like, well, this is what we can spend. This is the cash we've got. You can either meet us there or we're walking, Well, they're obviously wanting to sell a car. So they do it. And the guy, we tell him we've done the Dave Ramsey, and he goes, well, how's that working out for you? And it was like, well, we just paid you cash for a car. it's working out.
Well, and they
really
gave
well.
us $5,000 on the trade-in for a car that well, we bought the car 2 years prior for $5,995. Okay. So we drove it around for 2 years for $995 and it would barely crank when we got it there. So it really it was not worth the $5,000 on the trade-in that they gave us. But because we were like, look, here's the cash that we
Was
have. It's
smoking.
right here. Like, this is what we have.
You can have this.
You can have this,
Right.
and you can give us this on the trade-in, or we're done. And they gave us the $5,000 on the trade-in, and he was like really wanted to talk about how it just wasn't a smart way to buy a car. I was like, really? Because you just gave us way more than that car was worth because I showed you cash.
Cash gives you a lot of opportunities to say no to things or to say yes to things. So that's awesome. That's our plan, is to walk in with cash for our car, hopefully in April. And yeah, we have like these cars that we like in mind. And I'm like, I wonder how much really they would go down on those if we did bring in cash. Is it better to go at the first of the month or the end of the month? I don't know. I need to ask.
Well, there's a book called, I can't remember the author's name, but it's called Never Split the Difference. And he's a hostage negotiator for the FBI, or he was. And he does a great, the book is great about talking about how to negotiate things in everyday life. So, if you're really thinking about doing this kind of stuff, that's a great book to read, because then you can, it's basically having the ability to do like what Whitney did and saying, I'm walking away from this deal, and you learn how to be kind of in charge of those negotiations, whether you're the one selling or you're the one buying. So Never Split the Difference is that book. I'll give it a free plug.
December 7th, 1941 is a day that our grandparents and great-grandparents might recall vividly. Thousands of brave individuals answered the call to enlist and serve their country. Those back home waited and also served by providing essential support.
Since then, veterans have served in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Freedom, and the current ongoing global military operations. It's no surprise that our veterans have paid a huge price for the freedoms that we cherish. Serenity Counseling is honored to serve those who have served through their Renewed Warriors program.
If you are a veteran who struggles with post-traumatic stress, or maybe you love a veteran who is struggling with post-traumatic stress, it can often be hard to talk about. Drug therapy can often feel like a Band-Aid.
This program, the Renewed Warriors program, is free. Renewed Spirits is currently recruiting veterans for their equine assisted support group, working with horses outside in the open air. Give them a call or check out their website for more information and to be a part of this group. They'll let you know the details. All you have to do is report for duty. The horses are very good at helping, but you have to be in their presence for it to work.
Give the counselors at Serenity Counseling a call, 256-263-6367, or at their website, serenitycounselingshoals.org.
Serenity Counseling is located at 1954 Jackson Road in Florence, Alabama.
Serenity Counseling, where hope is given and healing begins. Well, as we like to do and wrap up, we've got some fun questions.
So what canceled TV show would you bring back?
The Office. Does that count? Is that canceled? I don't know I'm really terrible at pop culture. However,
it absolutely counts. That's probably 90% of the answers we get, and every time I agree. Every time.
It's cringy.
So
it's
keep
a really
coming.
cringy show, but it's so good.
The unpopular part of that is I've never watched The Office all the way through. I know.
Oh man.
Unclean.
You're missing out.
Unclean.
Unclean.
It took me several first episodes. Like I had to watch the first episode several times, like starting watching The Office to be convinced. You have to get through like the fourth episode and then just sit and binge it.
Well, Addie, we sure do appreciate you taking time to be with us. We appreciate Tyler getting you set up to be with us and using his app to be with us. Thank you. We want to encourage you, obviously, to finish the course, finish and encourage anybody that's out there listening to this to, get that Gazelle intensity And if there's any way, once again, you can look at the Instagram there and get some encouragement there. But thank you for being with us.
HCU offers dual enrollment credit. Know a high schooler who needs college credit? Our friends at Heritage Christian University offer general education courses so your high schooler can get ahead. Feel at ease knowing your child will have Christian instructors at only $100 per class. To find out more, email rharrison, that's RHARRISON, at hcu.edu, or click Apply Now at www.hcu.edu.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.